What is going on, guys? It's your boy Coaster Jedi back here with another video. This one is a very big video for me. This is the top 25 coasters that I have ridden. I've gotten 159 different coaster credits, and today I'll be ranking the top 25. These are the best of the best, my favorite roller coasters. And there were a lot of great roller coasters that I really wanted to put on the list, but just couldn't quite make the cut. So these are very strong roller coasters here that I am about to list. For my personal preferences, I go for airtime, speed, gracefulness, so you'll see a lot of B&M coasters on here, especially as you get towards the top. And I prefer floater airtime over ejector. I know this is not the typical coaster enthusiast answer, but this is just my personal opinion. This is what I think. So let's get started with the video. So here are the first 5 coasters out. So just to give you a little bit of an example of where the coasters will be ranking. So at 30 is Superman Ride of Steel, Intimate Hypercoaster at Six Flags America. 29 is Afterburn, the B&M Invert at Carowinds. 28 is Kraken, the B&M Floorless at SeaWorld. 27 is Kuma, the B&M Floorless at Busch Gardens Tampa. And at 26 is Batwing, the Vekoma Flying Dutchman from Six Flags America. All these are great coasters, they just couldn't make the cut. Starting off our top 25 is Fahrenheit at Hershey Park. This is a great ride with an awesome vertical lift hill, an insane drop, a good collection of inversions, and even a couple of fun airtime moments. This is a solid put together ride that I really enjoy. That just is pretty much a full package. You've got intensity, smoothness, a great drop, some airtime. It's the full package. Number 24 is Phoenix, one of the craziest coasters that I've ridden. It almost feels unsafe just how much airtime you get with those buzz bars. This thing is so much fun. You get some great airtime, especially on the double up and double down. There are a couple rough patches here and there, but that's really easily looked past, but that's the reason it might not get any higher. But it's still a fantastic ride with some good airtime. 23 is Superman Ultimate Flight. I am a sucker for flying coasters, even cloned flying coasters, and I absolutely love this thing. It's so much fun. I just love the sensation of flying, and this coaster delivers it perfectly. Absolutely no complaints about this thing. Next up is King Dakar in the same park, and this thing is a powerhouse. It starts off with a fantastic launch, and did I mention that this is the tallest coaster in the world? It is insane, just a crazy drop, and you get a great view from the top. It's just an insane experience, and one that you really have to feel for yourself. There's a little bit of shakiness on the launch, but it's easy to look past. 21 is Behemoth, by far my least favorite B&M hypercoaster. I just found that the airtime was weaker, and it didn't really have anything crazy in the layout, and it was a little rougher. But it was still a solid ride and still worthy of being in my top 25, just not as good as some other B&M hypers. At 20 is Alpinegeist, a great B&M invert, and I think I really have a soft spot for this ride because of how many times I've ridden it. I love this thing and have some good memories with it. It does have a couple of rough/shaky moments, but those are very easy to look past. It has an awesome collection of inversions, a great setting, and a masterful first drop, especially if you're in the back row. And barely edging it out is another B&M invert, Great Bear. I love this thing. It's so unique with that Helix before the drop, a very great collection of smooth inversions, even an airtime pop or two. I do wish it were a little bit longer, but I mean, it's still a very strong, solid, smooth ride, and it's a good one. Next is Hydra the Revenge, my favorite B&M floorless coaster. This thing is so much fun. Like Great Bear, it is one of the weirdest of its kind, but I'm all for it. The inversions are such weird shapes that there's not a vertical loop, it has a straight drop, and there's even airtime. Not to mention that crazy JoJo roll, that is one of my favorite inversions I've ever experienced, and this thing is just so much fun. Smooth, has a great collection of inversions. Next is Griffin, my favorite B&M dive coaster. This thing is awesome. From the crazy first drop, to the holding brake before it, to even the fun you get on the second drop, to those old school B&M shoulder restraints that really do let you feel the airtime. This thing is glossy smooth, and there's literally no complaints that I have about it, from the beautiful setting to the great ride experience. 16, we have Wild Eagle, and this thing is so much fun. It gets trashed on by enthusiasts constantly, but I don't get it. Yes, it has a very small rattle, but it's barely noticeable. This thing is intense, pulls some great G's, and has a fantastic terrain setting. I absolutely love the first drop over that hill. It is absolutely crazy to be flying down like that. It is just such an awesome ride that I really don't get the hate for. I don't get why people dump on this thing. Speaking of coasters that enthusiasts love to hate is Steel Force, the Morgan Hyper Coaster. And I don't really get this one either. I found the Steel Force to be very smooth, have some great airtime, and it'll just be a very fun ride. It's a nice long experience, and it's just a great solid ride overall with some airtime. I haven't ridden it in a while. The last time I rode it was 2017, but I really enjoyed it when I was there. At number 14, we have a new for 2021 credit, Copperhead Strike. This thing is so much fun. It's such a great ride. It's got some great inversions, some great hang time, some great air time. It just has a very good mix of forces. The launches could be more forceful, but that's not really what the ride's all about. It's really about having those different forces, and it's just so much fun. This is the definition of a fun, enjoyable ride. Plus, that JoJo roll is outstanding. Number 13, we have my favorite B&M invert. This thing is a powerhouse. Mantu is such a great ride. Super intense with amazing inversions from the Batwing to the great 0G roll to the great setting, to the fantastic drop. And of course, coming out of the trenches, it's so cool. It really is a masterpiece. This is the crown jewel of Busch Gardens Tampa, at least until Iron Gwazi opens. And they really could not have designed a better B&M invert. This thing is crazy. Number 12 is Levitation, my least favorite Giga that I've ridden so far. And even though it's my least favorite, it's still a great ride. I only got to ride this coaster once, and I think if I had ridden it more than once, it would be higher on this list. But just the day I went to Canada's Wonderland, it was really crowded, and that's more what I remember over this coaster. But it was still a great ride with a fantastic drop, some good airtime moments, and some very amazing speed. I do like this thing, but I definitely need a re-ride on it. Just missing out on the top 10. This coaster was pushed out of my top 10 this year, and it is Storm Runner. I absolutely love this thing. It's got a great launch, some nice airtime moments, some good intensity, and some whippy inversions. This thing is such a weird ride, but I absolutely love it. It's my favorite ride at Hershey Park, and it is just fantastic. Entering the top 10, we have my favorite B&M Flyer, Manta at SeaWorld Orlando. And I just absolutely love this thing. I love flying coasters, as I've already mentioned, and Manta is definitely the best one I've ridden. From its smoothness to its just incredible vibe it gives off to the theming. It's so awesome, so graceful, and then all of a sudden you get to the pretzel loop and it rips your face off. It's awesome. What a great ride. I cannot say enough good things about Manta. Next up is Lightning Rod, and this may be a little unpopular. I think a lot of people would want Lightning Rod in the top 5, at least of what I've ridden. And I do admit it is a fantastic ride. It's got some good terrain usage. It's a very enjoyable and smooth ride. I didn't really get the roughness that some people said it was. I mean, it's not perfectly smooth, but it does its job pretty well. I did find the launch to be a little weak, and I think maybe this ride got a little overhyped for me. But it's fantastic with some very good ejector airtime. I just don't enjoy ejector as much as I do floater, but it's still really good. And speaking of ejector airtime, we have the El Toro, my favorite wooden coaster that I've ridden. This thing is a beast. From the insane first drop to the crazy camelbacks to the rolling thunderhill, this thing is great. I do wish that they had smoothed out a couple of the very rough turns that were very rough and just took away from the ride a lot, but you can't deny how great that first drop is, and those camelbacks are. It is just great. What an insane experience. And riding this thing at night was even better. Number 7 is my favorite RMC, Twisted Timbers. I've only been on 2 RMCs. They both make my top 10, and Twisted Timbers is my favorite of the 2. At King's Dominion, this is such a great ride from the insane ejector airtime it has. I love the ejector airtime. You feel like you were out of your seat almost the entire time. Barrel to barrel drop was a little disappointing for me. I think I would have just preferred a regular drop. But overall, this is about as close to a perfect coaster as you can get. I really don't have any complaints about it. It's just that good of a ride. At number 6 is Intimidator, and this might be a little bit surprising since a lot of coaster enthusiasts also like to trash on Intimidator, but I love this ride. I'm such a sucker for B&M hypers, especially ones that I just really enjoy, and Intimidator is one of them. It has very strong floater airtime that is really sustained, especially if you're in the back. This is a great back row ride over front row ride for me. Each of the camelbacks really delivers what it's supposed to, and the drop is just insane. It's a good ride. There's a very tiny rattle, but it's not very noticeable. but it's a very strong, enjoyable ride. And now to enter our top 5, we have Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. I also adore this hypercoaster. It is such a good ride, especially at night. I had one of my favorite ever rides out there on this coaster at night. It was fantastic. It's got a great drop, and it has plenty of good airtime. My favorite element on the ride is actually the first hill where it goes up and banks left. If you're on the right side of the train especially, you get some nice whip on there. It's got a nice helix and a great finale. What a solid ride. And number 4 is Intimidator 305. This is one of the coasters that surprised me the most about how much I liked it. As I've said, I like gracefulness and airtime over bone-crushing intensity, but this coaster was so good, I just couldn't ignore it. From the fantastic first drop that it has, to the great airtime hill, to the whippy transitions, this thing is chock full of great elements. And yes, you do gray out on that turn every time. It is a great ride, and a back row ride on this coaster is a must. Top 3 time now, and number 3 we have Apollo's Chariot, and I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this because I know people don't like Apollo's Chariot that much, but I have a soft spot for this ride. It just gives me some nostalgia vibes. I absolutely love this thing. It's got a great setting, and even though the airtime might not be as powerful as something like Intimidator or some of the other hypercoasters out there, I really enjoy it. I get airtime every time I ride it. I just love the setting, especially next to the river. My favorite element is that second hill after the first drop. You kind of bank to the left, and you feel like you're going to fly into the river. It's so much fun. I absolutely love this thing. And this is the coaster I've ridden more than anything else. I went to Busch Gardens this year and rode it over 30 times in a span of 3 days. It's that good. And number 2, we have Fury 325. This is an awesome Giga coaster. It's my favorite Giga coaster I've ridden. And this coaster has the best first drop of any coaster I've ever ridden. I absolutely love the drop. Then it has a great layout with some strong turns and speed, and then it has some great airtime hills as well. Highlights of the ride are definitely the treble clef into the tunnel. That's an absolutely insane element. And then you have some very strong airtime as you come back toward the station. It's great. I just love Fury 325, and I feel like being able to ride it, I rode it 8 times the last time I went to Carowinds. It's that good. I love this thing so much. But it wasn't quite good enough to defeat my number 1. And my number 1 ever since I've ridden it is Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. I love this thing now. I think it's gotten to the point where I identify with this coaster as part of being a coaster enthusiast, just because I have such a love for it. It is such a good ride. I love that it only has the clamshells, not even the seatbelts. The drop is incredible. All the airtime is so powerful. And you feel like you're really racing the cars along the road, and you're diving in and out of the water as you're going along, just like a Mako shark. The theming is on point. I love the soundtrack. There's literally nothing wrong with this coaster. I absolutely love it and could ride it all freaking day. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you if you made it to this point. You are awesome and you are a real one. I love you guys. I really appreciate the support that I have. And make sure to comment your personal top 5, top 10, top 15, top 20, top 25, however many you want to put up there. I'd love to compare lists and compare notes on the coasters. Thank you guys for watching. You're awesome as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.